Good evening, my wonderful viewers. It's been a while. I brought you a lecture on some of the key things we need to know when we are building. This is Engineer Lumute. I'm a structural engineer here in Ghana, and I design and I build. I design both reinforced concrete buildings and steel designs, as well as timber designs too. Today, I would like to treat the topic called how to calculate the number of blocks when building a structure. So basically, I'm going to give you the basics. Then when you understand the basics, you can use it to calculate the number of blocks you need to do a project. First of all, I'd like to thank you for returning to my videos, to view them and to like them, and also to share. Thank you so much. And for the first timers who come across this video, I'd like to ask you to subscribe so that you get this educative material or information which will help you one day, because when you are building and you don't know or you don't have any knowledge in it, like you waste a lot of money, because when the artisans, when the engineers, when the architects, when they come and they are speaking their language, because you don't understand, you buy anything that they say. But assuming your mason calculates the number of blocks for you, and you also have a basic knowledge in how to calculate the number of blocks, and you also do your check, at least if the number is not that far from what you had, you can say, okay, you're on a good note. But assuming you don't know how to do it, okay, you'll find yourself in a very bad mess, because whatever number they give you, you buy into it. Sometimes people will say, okay, I'll take 2 or 3 different invoices or different estimates from different masons, and the one that falls within my budget, I go with it. What about if the mason comes back and tell you that the block didn't reach and you have to buy more? That is why you have to learn. You have to take your time to view this video and know the basics so that you can use it to calculate the number of blocks. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you. So let's move on. So I will discuss how to calculate the number of blocks in a given project. So how to calculate the number of blocks in a given project. But before I move on to this, I want to bring to your knowledge that when it comes to blocks, we have types of blocks. So one, we have types of blocks. We also have sizes of blocks. Sizes or dimension. Okay, so when you take the type of blocks, we have what we call solid blocks, solid blocks, and we have hollow blocks. So the solid blocks is a block that you won't see any cavity or you won't see any holes in it. It's solid and very strong. So the density of solid blocks or the weight of solid blocks far outweighs that of hollow blocks, because the hollow, it has holes in them. Okay, and I'll do another video where I'll explain to you when to use a solid block and when to use hollow blocks. There's a reason why we have hollow blocks and what the hollow blocks are meant for. So I'll do another video where I'll explain to you when to do hollow blocks, when to use hollow blocks in building, and when also to use solid blocks. Okay, but for the sake of our topic today, I want to center more on the sizes of blocks. Okay, so for the sizes of blocks, we have 6 inches blocks. We have 6 inches block. 6 inches block is also known as 150 block. We have 5 inches block. It's also known as 125 block. We have 4 inches block. It's also known as 100 block. Now, the sizes here, the focus is more on the thickness of the block. So the 6 inches here is the thickness of a particular block. So the thickness is 6 inches, and 6 inches is the same as 150 Okay. Remember, I taught you how to convert metric meters to inches and inches to feet, and even metric to feet. So 6 inches is the same as 50 block. 5 inches block is also the same as 125. We are talking about the thickness of the block. So now when you in Ghana here, we mostly use 6 inches and then 5 inches blocks. That's the thickness that we normally use. But when you go to places like Nigeria, you go to places like India and all those places, they use 200 thickness. They use 225. Do you understand? So my focus would be on Ghana, because this is where I live. Alright, so I'm going to sketch a typical block, a typical 6 inches block, and then we'll look at the other dimensions. Then when having known that, we'll use it to do our calculation. Alright? So there's a typical 6 inches block. So this way, okay, this way. So we are talking about the thickness. Okay, we are talking about the thickness. Okay, so the thickness is here. This is 6 inches. This is 6 inches. This is 6 inches. Okay, now here, this is so I told you that 6 inches is the same as 150 Is is also the same as 150 mm. So this long length, the long length of the block is 450 mm. Okay, and then the width of the block, okay, is 200 mm, and 200 mm is the same as 8 inches, and and 1 4 and 450 mm is the same as 18 inches. Okay, but my concern will be on the millimeters, so that will make the work very easy. Okay, so if you are working with 6 inches blocks, okay, to calculate the number of blocks for a given project, first of all, calculate the total length, okay, the total length on the floor plan. So you know, any building has architectural floor plans. Okay, so when you take the architectural floor plans, the dimensions are there. So you will think, you look at it, and wherever there is a block work, you will calculate the distance. Okay, so when you are able to calculate all the distances, you add them together. Then when you get a total length of blocks you're going to lay, you can use it to calculate the number of blocks. So let's say we are working with a length of 100 mm. Let's say we are using a block total length of 10,000 mm. Okay, so 10,000 mm length of. So after we have done our calculations, looking at the floor plan, deducing all the block lengths, putting them together, let's say we got 10,000 mm. Okay, that's great. So you also look at the height you want to go. Okay, so your room height, are you looking at 3 meters? Are you looking at 350 meters? Are you looking at 3 meters? Are you looking at 3.5 meters? Are you looking at 2.850 meters? So let's say we are looking at 3 meters. Okay, 3 meters, when you convert it to millimeters, is 3,000, right? So this is a total length. Okay, and then this is the height of room you are looking at. The height of room you are looking at, which is 3 meters, and it's the same as 3,000 mm. You get it? So I hope I can clean this one. Okay, let me keep it. So for me to get the total length of blocks for 10,000 mm, in total length. Okay, I will have to let me do some sketch of a typical block laying. So let's say this is a typical block laying. We have this, and then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Okay, then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Okay. Then we come here. We have this. Okay, then we have mortar joint. Okay, then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Then we have mortar joint. Then we have this. Mortar joint. Then we have this. So it continues, you know. We have this. We have mortar joint. 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 We have this. Okay, so this is a typical block laying. Okay. Now, remember the dimension I gave you. We're working with 6 inches block, or 150 block. So the mortar joint we use in Ghana here is 1 inch. When 1 inch thickness of mortar joint is the same as 25 So the thickness here, okay, is 25 or 1 inch. Okay, I'm talking about the mortar joint, the joint between you see the joint between 2 blocks. You put mortar there, is 25 or 1 inch. 1 inch. 1 inch. That's the thickness of mortar. Okay. So when you are doing the calculation, you have to factor all this in there. Okay. So for the total length, okay, that we got from the architectural floor plan that we assumed, which is 10,000 okay, you are going to add, okay, so let's say from here to here, okay, is 10,000 okay, remember how many mortar joint do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But how many blocks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, when it comes to block laying, we consider even half block or quarter block as a full block when we are doing our calculation. Because remember that we will use a full block to get the quarter block or the half block. Okay, sometimes when they break it, you realize that the other part is not used. Most of the times the other part is used, but sometimes you realize that you end up getting a lot of pieces. General, so when we are doing the calculation, even a quarter block, we count it as a full block. You get it? So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mortar joints, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. Okay, so it means that for every given block laying, okay, if the mortar joint is 6, the number of blocks will be 7. You just count the number of mortar joints, then you add +1 to it to give you the number of blocks. Okay, fine. Alright. So this is how we're gonna do it. So the 10,000 we have to divide it by the length. Okay, the length of the block. Remember the dimension I showed you. The dimension, the length is the length. Okay. Remember I drew something like this. Remember I drew something like this. Remember I drew something like this. Okay, something like this. And I told you that this is the thickness, which is 6 inches. And then here is the breadth, which is, or the width, W, which is 8 inches. And then here is the length, which is 18 inches. But when we want it in millimeters, it's going to be 150 mm. This is going to be 200 mm. This is going to be what? 450 mm. Okay, this is the mode dimensions we have in Ghana here. These are sizes we use. Our mode size that we use here are these. The sizes are these. Okay. So for us to know the length, the number of blocks we put on the length, we have to divide the 10,000. You have to divide the 10,000, the total number of lengths that we got from your floor plan. Okay, where the block works are. You remember you added all the block works length to get the 10,000. Okay, so we assume that you divide it by the length. Okay, the length of the what? Of the block. Okay, you divide by the length of the block. But remember that when you divide by the length of the block, what about the mortar joint? Because the blocks are laid with mortar. Okay, so this is what we do. You will do 450 plus 25 mm. Okay, so 450 by 25 will give you 475 mm. Do you understand? So this is the total length of, that is the block and then the mortar joint. Do you understand? The block and then the mortar joint. Okay, so you divide the 10,000 by 475 mm. Okay, when you do the division, you will get, so 10,000 divided by 475, you will get 21. You will get 21.05. Okay, you will get 21.05, but you can round this one to 22. So what it means is that on this the total length, on one course, okay, you are going to lay 22 blocks, assuming the 10,000 is a long stretch, okay, and you have to lay block on it. And let me also bring to your attention, we call this, so this is the concrete, okay, and this is the block. This is called first course, okay. This is second course. Okay, so first layer, second layer, third layer, first course, second course, third course. Okay, the masons will say course. You have 12 course, you have 15 course, you have 9 course. All they want to say is course. So we want to lay maybe 9 courses, or we want to lay 4 courses, 5 courses. Okay, so this is how it is. So the first layer on the concrete, when you start, is the first course. Okay, so this 22 is the number of blocks you will lay for the first course. Do you understand? The number of blocks you lay for the first course. Now, we have to also know the height we are going to. That's why I told you the height is determined by the room height. The room height you are going. Do you understand? So with the room height is 3 meters, which is, we are working in millimeters, so 3 meters is the same as 3,000 mm. Alright. So in this case, we have gotten 22, right? So now for the length, now we have to know the height. Okay, the number of courses that we have to go. Okay, so how do we do that? So here, let me clean here. So So the height is 3 meters, which is same as 3,000 mm. And remember, the block, the width is 800 by 8 inches, which is 200 mm. Okay, it's 8 inches and it's 200 mm. So when you place it, you see that this is the width. Okay, the width is 200. Okay, the mold that we use here, that's the dimension. Okay, so remember that the same way when you are putting it, you also add the mortar joint. Okay, so here there's a mortar joint here. Okay, there's a mortar joint here. There's a mortar joint here. There's a mortar joint here. Okay, there's a mortar joint here. There's a mortar joint here. There's a mortar joint. Okay, so you're gonna add the mortar joint to the 200. Okay, remember I told you the mortar joint is 25 mm, that's 1 inch. Okay, fine. So here there's a mortar joint here. Okay, so this, let's count the mortar joint. The mortar joint is 1, 2, 3 for this one, and then the number of blocks is also 1, 1, 2, 3. So for the height, when you are looking at the height, the mortar joint number is the same as the number of blocks you lay. Okay, fine. So 200 plus 25 will give you 225. Do you understand? It will give you 225. Okay, but remember that the top, there's no more, assuming this is our top finish. Okay, this is our top finish. Okay, there's no mortar joint here, but it's better to have excess block than to short. Okay, so if we want to get the exact number of blocks by taking out this one from it, we can also do it. Okay, but it's better to have excess on your side than to short, because when maybe you have to buy 5,000 blocks, that's the exact number. Okay, that's assuming we do the exact calculation, we get 5,000. Okay, fine. And then let's say we do the approximate calculation when you can even get excess. Okay, and then when we supply, we did our calculation, we got 5,500 or 5,050. Okay, now remember, when you bring the blocks, sometimes when they are offloading it, some get broken, some get destroyed and all those. So that excess, the 50 can take care of those broken ones. So when you bring the exact 5,000 and then some are broken and they can't use it, and you are short of 50, if you go back to buy it, they'll tell you that because of the distance and then the quantity is small, you have to bring your own truck to take it. You understand? Which you will care more cost. Some of these things, when you are doing, you look at the cost involved. So it's always better to buy excess than to what. So let's assume that everything is perfect here. You understand? So 200 plus 25 will give you 225. Okay, so you divide the this thing, what's the name? So let me, so you divide 3,000 by 225. Okay. So you divide the 3,000 by 225. Okay. Then when you divide it, well, what do we get? 3,000 divided by 225. You will get 13.3, which you can approximate it to 14. Do you understand? Which you can approximate to 40 means that this is for the height you go for you to get a 3-meter height block. You have to lay 14 courses of. Let me clean this one. So you have to lay 14 courses of blocks. Okay, and then here for the length, for one course of 10,000 length, you have to lay 22 what 10,000 millimeter length. You have to lay 22 blocks. Okay, so now how do we get the total blocks? The total blocks is going to be, let me clean here. So the total blocks for for 10,000 length, 10,000 length, and 3,000 height. The total is going to be 14. Remember where the 14, this is a 14 times 22. You remember where the 22, the 22 is the one course of block you lay on 10,000 length. Okay, so 14 times 22, that should give you the total blocks you have to buy for that project. So 14 times 22 will give you 300 blocks. Remember, to give you 300 blocks. 300 blocks. Alright, so it means that because when you take the dimensions, you realize that I told you have 5 inches block, we have 6 inches block, we have 4 inches block. When it comes to the calculation, because the length of the block and then the width of the block, irrespective of the thickness, are constant, it doesn't affect, the thickness of the block does not affect the total number of blocks you buy. You understand? What determines the total number of blocks to buy is the width and then the length of the block. But the thickness of the block is determined by what you are going to use the block for. Do you understand? So with this basic understanding, you should be able on your own as a client, you should be able to calculate the number of blocks. In case you ask your artisan or your engineer or whatever to calculate, to give you the total number of blocks you use for your project, and you want to check whether the person hasn't overestimated, with this basic knowledge, you should be able to do some calculation. But bear it in mind, you should also be able to read the plan, the architectural floor plan. Okay, because that is where you deduce your blocks. And remember when you are deducing your blocks too, you have to take out the window the window area, you have to take it out. The door area too, you have to also take it out. Okay, you have to do all those things. But assuming you can't do it, don't worry. You just look at on the floor plan, look at where the blocks are going to be, and just get the total length. Okay, calculate the total length. Well, where the blocks are going to walk, just calculate the total length, and just forget about the what's the name, the area of block, the area of the window that you have to take it out, the area of the what's the name, the door that you have to also take it out. You just want to check. Okay, this is for clients. You just want to check whether what you have been given has not been overestimated. We want a reasonable value. So when you get it and then you compare, and then the number is not that far from yours, and you know that okay, it makes sense. But for an engineer who wants to learn from this lecture, you should be able to deduce the window area from the total length that you do. You should be able to also deduct the door area also from it before you do your calculation. Once again, my name is Engineer Lomote. I'm a structural engineer. I design various type of buildings, commercial, residential, all kinds of building, be it reinforced concrete design, be it steel design, be it timber design. I do all that, and I also build. Yeah. So thank you so much for this lecture, and don't also forget to subscribe to the channel so that you get more educative stuff on this channel. Thank you so much.